our long working hours culture make motherhood arguably the most significant turning point in a woman's professional life. That is because when a woman becomes a mother, she will very likely choose or be forced to choose to work fewer hours or work lower paid but more child-friendly jobs or not work at all. In the eyes of altruistic parents, a child is forever a child, and the parents plan far ahead and consider all future costs and prices. That's why the cost of raising a child is a composite of many prices. The first figure shows the fertility rate of Singapore over the past few years, while the second shows the rising income of Singaporeans over the same period. We can see that rising income did not lead to a corresponding rise in fertility rate. This suggests that babies was an inferior good when you had many of them in the 60s and 70s. However, when fertility rate reached low levels like today, it becomes a necessity to have at least one or two. The Singapore government's public campaign possibly changed Singaporeans' attitudes towards having children, therefore reducing the demand for babies and shifting the demand curve leftwards. The various punitive measures introduced by the Singapore government exponentially increased the price of having an additional child, therefore causing upward movement along the demand curve, reducing quantity demanded for babies. There are also current government incentives to encourage Singaporeans to have more babies, mainly through changing the cost or price of having babies. One such example is the baby bonus scheme. First, the cost of having a baby in Singapore is still very high. In the grand scheme of things, $6,000 from the baby bonus is a small amount compared to the real cost of having a child in Singapore. Second, these government incentives have failed to change bosses' attitudes towards not being physically present at work or leaving work for child-related matters. And this puts new mothers in a difficult position. Higher GDP or income leads to higher wage rate, which means time is more expensive for Singaporeans. Babies production is time intensive since the opportunity cost of having a baby is mainly time. Hence, the price of having a baby is much higher with higher income. If babies are normal goods, an increase of income will lead to a rightward shift in demand, and the higher price will result in upward movement along the demand curve. Hence, price will be higher and quantity demanded for babies will be lower. The first possible reason is that Malays possibly have a stronger cultural preference for babies compared to the other races, simply leading to a higher demand for babies. The second reason is that Malays possibly have a lower income than the other races, and therefore the price of time is lower, implying that the price of raising up children is lower. That is because the production, enjoyment, bringing up of children is time intensive. If babies are normal goods, Malays will have a lower demand for babies due to their lower income. However, due to the lower price faced by Malays, they will still have a higher quantity demanded for babies compared to the Chinese.